What's up, guys? Welcome to the Walk for God podcast. We are so happy that you joined us. Before we start today's episode, I want to quickly let you know about a few things. If you've been encouraged by this ministry, one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing and sharing this episode with a friend. Every share helps us reach more people with the hope of Jesus. If you would like to support this ministry as well, you can make a donation through our website at thewalkforgod.com/give. Every gift, no matter the size, helps us continue creating content, sharing the gospel, and reaching others with the love of Christ. We truly appreciate your generosity and partnership in this mission. Also, if there's anything you are walking through right now, we would love to pray for you. Whether it's a struggle or something that's been weighing on your heart, you can submit a prayer request on our website. It would be an honor for our team to pray with you. We hope you enjoy today's episode. What is up, guys? My name is Dylan, and welcome to The Walk. I'm your host, and these are my two good friends, Eli Daniels and Dalton Beck, two of our team members who are here on The Walk with us today. And we wanted to talk to y'all about self-control. So before we do, I just wanted to talk to them and let y'all get to know them a little bit on a personal level. All right, so Eli, we know school's starting back up for you here soon. Like, what are your plans after school? Because you're going in your senior year, right?
Yeah.
So what are your plans after school?
So I just started looking more into like construction, like civil engineering, getting into stuff like that. I'm certified in carpentry, but I just really try and keep my heart open and my spirit open, whatever God calls me into from there. But I think it's important to have a plan. Having a plan isn't a problem. It's telling God what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And then how about you, Dalton? And we know that you have your own personal page that you share the gospel on. Like, how long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing it since sixth grade.
Mm-hmm. So, like, how many videos would you say you've probably made about now?
I mean, I want to say like 40 or 50. Probably over that, but that's probably my guess.
Oh, that's cool. Like, what got you to start that?
Well, sixth grade was the year that I moved in my grandparents and the year that I gave my life to Christ. Mm-hmm. And, ever since I gave my life to Christ, I just had the desire to, like, spread the gospel. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do something different. So I just started, like, posting, videos on Instagram. And it kind of grew a little bit. So I started doing it more and more. And here I am now.
That's cool.
That's good.
Well, for you, like, what is school looking like for you now?
I mean, a lot of my friends that I've known, you've seen, I've invited to church, and I've learned to create the habit to spread the gospel, no matter what classroom I'm in or what people I hang around. Just try my best to put Jesus in any atmosphere where I'm at.
That's cool.
That's just my habit.
What are your plans after high school?
I want to go to college to be a youth pastor. I think that's my big desire.
Oh, that's cool. That's what I'm probably planning on doing too. Actually, that's what I'm currently doing. I'm trying to get my credentials and stuff. So a little scripture that I wanted to share with y'all today was that in Galatians 22, it talks about, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. And this just flows into what I was wanting to ask y'all today is, like, when you hear the word self-control, what comes to mind, and why do you think it is important for Christians?
When I think of self-control, I feel like it's more of just like I feel like a lot of people immediately turn towards lust, which is very important, like lust towards like a spouse or whatever that may look like. But I feel like a lot of people choose to point it towards what a lot of people struggle with. But I think whenever you don't take care of your body, that's a problem with self-control. Mm-hmm. Whenever you speak illy to people or about people, even if it seems enjoyable in the moment, just like, oh, I'm just hanging with the girlies, it's important to watch what you say. It's really important to watch your mouth. And just stuff like that, the stuff we tend to overlook. It's just like anything that you choose or recognize that you shouldn't do, that you're doing anyway, you have a problem with self-control. And I do want to say to anybody that watches this, us talking about things as a problem isn't us saying that we don't struggle with it or have not struggled with the same things. This isn't with a purpose of condemning anyone. It's just to show that you guys, that they're not alone in this, And it's just things that need to be talked about.
Mm-hmm. I think adding off on what he said, I mean, I think what self-control is the ability to, like, have restraint. And I think as a Christian that's important because, I mean, like you said, there's lust, there's, like not taking care of our body. We could go, eat fast food or do these different things, and that could lead us to go down different paths when we don't have the restraint that we need to follow Christ.
One other big part I was thinking about as like kind of a counter argument is obviously people who aren't Christians can still show self-control at points, but like you said, it bleeds into other areas of sin. Because if you show self-control without it coming from the Holy Spirit or from God, that is an act of pride within yourself, because you're showing I'm enough and I can do this without God, which is wrong. And the devil would love for you to believe that you can do it without God, but then the illusion kind of fades away and you realize where you've really left yourself.
Right. And because like the reality of it is like everything that we do is not for ourselves. The only reason that we're here on this earth is because the Lord, like, I mean,
Right.
he blessed us and decided to put us here. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is like we're not trying to restrain ourselves because of some other reason besides Jesus. It all points back to, I'm doing this for the Lord so I can praise him and glorify him in the way that I live.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, why do y'all think it's, like, important just to rely on the Lord for his will and not our own? Like, the book of Galatians does say that, like we said earlier, that self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. And why do you think it's more spiritual? I mean, you kind of tapped into it a little bit, but, like, why do you think it's more relying on Spirit rather than our own, like, will?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just saying, it points back to him when he says, like, when you rely on yourself, like, you're doing it out of your own will. You're doing it because for your own pride. Mm-hmm. But I think also, like, I've tried so many times to do it by myself, and I failed time after time. I mean, even after the times where I'm like, Lord, I'm not going to do this again. And then I go back to leaning on myself. So it's like, you have two options. You can either do it by leaning on yourself and, know that you're going to fail, or you could do it by leaning on the Lord and having that fruit. And that fruit's going to determine whether, you consistently win and have victory or you fail. So I think it's very important to seek the spiritual side and understand, man, I need that fruit, because that fruit is so much more reliable than myself.
Exactly. I like that.
And that's one thing I've always loved to think about, is it's easy to rely on ourselves for decision making as well. Because obviously, a lot of the times, the way you know that something is from God is because he may be asking you to do something that you just don't want to do. I mean, you think of Jonah. Like, if he just had to do whatever he was going to do based off what felt good to do, he definitely wouldn't have done God's will. But one thing I've always loved to think about is God hears the conversations you don't. God knows all the facts that you don't. And it's impossible to make a decision off what feels good because you don't know all the facts. So why would you not lean on the Holy Spirit and an all-knowing God who can lead you in the right direction, regardless of feeling? Because the heart's deceitful above all things.
It's true.
Yeah. But, like, what are some of the biggest ways where you think people struggle today with self-control?
I think, and Eli said this before, but I think a lot of people point to lust. I mean, I've struggled with lust. I imagine all of us in here have struggled with lust. But I think also a lot of times it's gossip. I mean, I'm not, I don't want to, like, speak badly upon nobody, but I've seen it around me. I've seen a lot of people gossip. And I think a lot of people, they just kind of put it to a side. But I think a lot of us, without realizing it, we lose restraint with our voice and the things that we say. And we end up bringing down people instead of lifting them up, as the Bible calls us to do.
I think there's, like, a lot of obvious ones that are out there, but I think important ones to look like. One that I've always struggled with a lot is, like, laziness. Because just because you're not doing anything, like, you're literally not doing anything, doesn't mean that you're lacking self-control. And the fact that at some point laying there, you had to acknowledge, I'm being lazy and I don't want to do this right now, but you're lacking self-control and being disciplined. I think also stuff that goes back into, like, taking care of your body, taking care of yourself, taking care of your mind, like cleaning your room. The things around you are a reflection of what's within you. And I think it's really important just to have self-control in your actions, because talking about the fruits of the Spirit as a whole, I mean, what else do people have to see you by other than your fruits? And how do we know if God's in your life other than by your fruits?
Exactly. Sure. That's good. And it's something like that I think about, though, is that we all have one thing that's, like, limited to us, and that's time. We are all on this earth for a limited amount of time. And I feel like a lot of that time people are wasting by either being on their phone, because, like, we're in a world today, like, where we're centralized on our phones, right, instead of being centralized on God sometimes. Amen. And we're easily taking that and just running with it, like, we'll just sit on our phones doing scrolling for hours and hours and hours. Yeah. And, if we don't have that self-control of, I need to get off my phone and be productive today, or I need to go read my Bible, or I need to pray, or, just being able to realize and flip the switch that, hey, I'm lacking that self-control right now, you know? Because, like, I mean, I'm sure all of us have things that we do on our phones just, but, like, it's got to be, you got to realize whenever enough is enough.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And, like, I mean, I wanted to encourage the people. Like, it could be as small as, like, I mean, there's been many times where I was doom scrolling or watching TV, and I'm like, man, I got to find something to do. And it could be easy, like, it could be as easy as going out, walking around the neighborhood, just talking to God. Just finding something smaller, like, going outside. Like, I've tried to build the habit of just, like, being more outside. Whether it's just you're walking around or just chilling, like, as long as sometimes you just take a break from your phone and just, you know, give that time to the Lord, that's, like, it doesn't matter if it's small or big what you do. It's just choosing to have that restraint to do something different than just doing the same things over and over.
yeah, I like that. Well, like, could y'all share, like, a time, like, in your life where where you know that you've had, like, not the best self-control, and, like, how did you, like, fix that?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I know I keep going back to like taking care of yourself and stuff like that, but I had a major concussion when I was wrestling a while back, and I had been doing like 2 practices a day, stuff like that, up to the point that I was working so hard, and honestly, that injury at first felt like such a blessing, but then as I began to like sit in my laziness, I began to lack self-control more and more and more, in a sense of I was eating whatever I wanted to. Like, I put on a lot of weight because I was like, there's no expectation of me anymore. Like, I don't have to be 165 pounds wherever I go anymore. I don't have to run anymore. I don't have to stay fit. And then I begin to do things because, I mean, my brother's in the special forces. My dad's always done stuff like CrossFit, stuff like that. And I began to realize, just to put it frankly, I'm a chud. And it's like, I need to lock in on what I need to do. And then I begin to build it all back up. But then I failed. You know why? It's because I realized that I wasn't doing it for God. I was doing it to feed my own ego and to be like, I have to be better than this person, or I have to be better than that person. But it's not even about that. It's let me be a representation to other people of the fruits within my life. And not even just to show other people, but just to show God, like, you're something I take seriously, and I want to do whatever it takes to be within your will.
That's good.
Mine was like when I was in the middle of like giving my life to Christ. I kind of had to put it frank, I was a player, and I struggled with having the restraint not to like just, you know, want all the people that I could get, in a way, if that makes sense. And that was around the season where I gave my life to Christ, and he kind of, obviously, I realized that I was wrong, and I got the conviction. But before that, I struggled with, you know, that desire. And it was really a misplaced desire, and I allowed it to took over. But I think that was the main thing that I really struggled with before I realized that was wrong, and I realized I had to take hold of it and allow the Lord to take control of it.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, like, personally, like, people who knew me like a year ago would probably say like I had a very big problem with my anger. Like, I would take my frustration out on anything sometimes. Whether it be my words or my actions. Obviously, I wouldn't hit people now, but there was just one day, like, I was so, like, fed up and I was so angry. And I had gotten into an argument with somebody, and this is, like, a time, like, our group of friends were like, around and everything and stuff like that. But I went and, like, I went outside to, like, clear my head, but I was so angry, and I just saw my car, and I just started hitting my car with like the palm of my hand. The palm of my hand didn't hurt, but it left a dent in that car that I still see today every single time. It's kind of like a reminder of like that time I lost self-control, you know, even though I didn't hit or hurt somebody physically, you know, that's still like represented like, oh, whenever he gets mad, you don't want to be around him, you know, and it kind of scared my friends in a way. And it was just like, they don't want to be around somebody like that whenever he gets angry, because if you lack self-control, what'll happen to me, you know? And I didn't want to be that type of person, you know? And so like ever since then, I've been able to like kind of just suppress my anger a little bit, and just whenever I get angry, you know, I just go and read my Bible, or I just go and sit in the car and listen to music, and I pray, and I just like, I'm able to decompress within that moment and just be able to, you know, have that self-control and like health, you know, like have a healthy balance.
Yeah.
To where I'm not like taking it out on somebody.
That brings me back to, it also makes me think, another thing I like self-control, and I think can happen to a lot of us, is one of my biggest problems has always been that I feel like I always need to be right. If I didn't get the last word in, it's not just, I can't be comfortable in knowing that I'm right within what God calls of us, and I'm right within my own conscience, but it's like I need other people to know that I am right about whatever I was saying. It's the self-control of being able to hold your own tongue, even if you're not saying wrong things. Sometimes the best thing you can do is say nothing. Think of Jesus. Jesus was having all of these things said to him whenever he's being put on trial and stuff like that. But did he say anything? No. Mm-hmm. Because he let the Lord speak for him. Not that he wasn't the Lord, obviously. But he let his Father in heaven speak on his account for him, which we need to do the same. You need to have the self-control. We need to have the self-control to just shut up sometimes and let God speak for us. And I think that's just a really important thing to remember.
Now I'll say, like, how can somebody tell the difference between relying on self-discipline alone and relying on God to develop self-control?
You want to go first, Eli?
No, you got it.
I got it. Okay. I feel like, well, we could go back to what we talked about before, but when we rely on like discipline, that's when we're relying on ourselves, like Eli said before. That's when we're doing it for our own pride, saying like, man, I got this, I can do this by myself, I don't really need anybody, I'm just gonna have this discipline because it's gonna affect me goodly, it's all about me. And I think when we look at self-control and then we see it through the eyes of the fruit, we're like, okay, I don't want to have this self-control, I want to do things on my own, but I'm gonna do this for the Lord so that my life can glorify him and so that people can see and people can be affected, and my life is completely a vessel for him. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's either for me or it's either for the Lord. And I think that's the two differences in how you can see which one's different.
Mm-hmm.
This brings to memory for me. So I recently, in talking about not being on the phones as much, me and a good friend of mine, Keith, have always done like social media fasts from time to time. Mm. We're going to do a big one this summer that's going to be a month long. But, I had been doing it for a while, and I just felt my heart. I was like, this feels very hollow. It doesn't feel righteous. It doesn't feel like my faith is growing from this. And I began to realize I'm reading a lot more. I'm doing more other stuff and being more productive away from electronics. But I realized, have I really been working in more like quiet time with God? Have I been working in more Bible reading? So it's like the self-discipline, was it there? 100%. And was I growing from it some? Yes. But the reason I felt comfortable to continue doing it was because it wasn't growing my faith. So why would Satan stop something that isn't loosening his grip on you?
Right.
But I began to realize, like, I'm not with this, even though I'm having self-discipline, I'm not expanding my faith through this. So then it's important to begin to work in other things. So it's just like, if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not doing something right. Mm-hmm. And it's just important to have self-discipline within the body of God, and just doing stuff like that.
Right. And I want to go off on that. Like, I feel like sometimes a lot of people, there's been many times where I'm like, man, if I don't fast, like if I don't do this certain thing, then like I'm not doing good in my walk. And like, yes, it's important to fast and do all those things, but there's been many times where I've accidentally slipped into performative. Yeah. Because I feel like, man, I want to be doing good, and I just, and a lot of times I'll slip into the mindset like, if I don't do that, then that's bad on me. Then I'm not a good Christian. Mm-hmm. And then the Lord kind of convicted me. He was like, it's good to do all these things, but you got to remember, like, it's for me, it's not for you. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted like to remind the audience, like, a lot of times we got to be careful not to slip into performing, and remember, like, I'm fasting for the Lord, not to make myself look like a good Christian or not to benefit myself in a way, but to benefit his kingdom.
Right.
I like that. And one of the verses I have with me today is 2 Corinthians 12:9. It says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me." We were not made perfectly to rely on our own, what we do by ourselves. Like, we rely on God, and that verse is like stuck with me like a lot recently. And like whenever we were just having this conversation, it like came to me, and it was just like, this is like a very good verse, because it talks about, whenever we're weak, whenever we may not have that self-control yet, whenever we might just lack it, you know, God is still going to perform in our weakness, you know, and having that strength to lift us up whenever we might not be able to for ourselves, you know. And just, that's an amazing thing, is that you don't learn self-control just on your own. God will show you how to.
It's true.
So, let's say, what practical habits have helped you strengthen self-control in your daily walk with Christ?
Just staying in the Word definitely helps, because it's so easy, like, to talk about God and this and that, but are you really ingesting His Word and allowing that to show through you? Obviously, I think not that many people stay in their Word, which I've been guilty to of at times. Even less people have worship time that they work into their life. And even less people than that have quiet time with God. Because, yeah, it's great to have worship music blasting. But worship music definitely can be used to invoke feelings. And it's just like, are you worshiping off of feelings? Or are you worshiping off of what God is working within you? And then 2, if you've got music blasting, how are you going to hear what God's saying to you? You know? It's just like, just trying to work in, like, quiet time with God. And it can be good, like, you know, head on the pillow at night, you know, just like, oh, God, I had this happen today, you know, not like that. But it's also like, are you going to have a more meaningful conversation with me if I'm half asleep talking to you, or if I'm face to face and I'm saying, I want to hear from you right now?
Definitely the face to face, but
right.
Well, and this is kind of goes a little back, but like when I found my, you know, self scrolling and doom scrolling like on my phone, I went outside to, you know, just have a conversation with the Lord. And that's like, I feel like sometimes quiet time can just be you just sitting in silence with the Lord. But it's also, I mean, quiet time is still you walking around, whether it's the backyard or walking around the neighborhood talking to the Lord. I still count that as quiet time, because in a way, like, you're away. Like, a lot of times I'll keep my phone away. You're away from your phone. You're away from the distractions, and it's just you and the Lord. And I think that's where quiet time resides. It's just, and I think for me, like, the more I talk to Him, the more I am at peace. So it's like, really, why would you not want to have quiet time?
I like that too, because I mean, I feel that I have that feeling too. It's just like, whenever, like I said before, like whenever you get angry and like, instead of lashing out like sporadically and just not having that self-control, if you just jump right into prayer, jump right into like reading, you know, like the amount of peace and like the weight that comes off your chest is just amazing. And like, one of the things for me that I think it helps me a lot is definitely prayer and accountability.
Yes.
Like surrounding yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable when they know you're going to do, or when you're doing wrong, and they will correct you. This is probably the best friendship you can have with somebody.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why I think self-control also ties in with transparency, because I mean, none of us are all perfect. I imagine, like, obviously we all still fall short, we all still mess up,
right? And
that's where it ties in. Like, you gotta have a brother that you can be transparent with and be like, hey man, I messed up. And because like you said, if you have friends like that are knowledge, you know, they have the knowledge of the Word and they will convict you and give you, like, you know, verses or something to help you with, those are the friends that are going to build you up. So exactly. I think it just ties in with that transparency, not being scared of saying, hey, I messed up.
Yeah, because like whenever I talked about like me hitting my car and stuff, like the first thing that somebody told me was like, hey, that's not you. Like, you lacked self-control there. And
this isn't you.
This isn't you. But it was like, it was a tough conversation for them to talk to me about, but I had to understand that I know I didn't have self-control in that moment. And they held me accountable, like I said. And, you know, that's like the beauty of friendship sometimes.
Right.
It's just like, they're willing to want to see you strive to be better, so they'll let you know.
There's so much power in obviously admitting like your shortcomings to God, but to be able to come to a brother in Christ or a sister in Christ, whoever that is to you, and say to that person, like, I've screwed up. And one thing that's came up in conversation recurring for me lately is to have a spiritual father, or depending on who you are, a spiritual mother. Because obviously we can give good advice to each other, but it's so good to have like somebody more spiritually mature than you that you can go to and look for wisdom within and speak to on that level.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, they have, like you said, they had that spiritual maturity.
Yes.
And like, obviously going through life, you're gonna like at some point like pass them. not necessarily in spiritual maturity, but you're gonna only need them for a phase of your life, which is okay. Like you just have to look for somebody else for like that
Picture
spiritual.
it's a flower, eventually, even though it's a great flower pot, maybe it's not better than the next one, but you're going to outgrow it eventually.
Exactly.
And speaking of that difficult conversation, there was one time where I was just struggling with like being very, I guess, legalistic because I was like stressing over things. I'm like, there was one time in my life where every time I do a study, I feel like I had to do like 30 minutes or longer, and if I didn't, I was like, man, I'm not doing good enough. Like I was just over and over just thought that I was not doing as good as I thought. And I called a friend, Liam, y'all know Liam. And, he called me out. He's like, Dalton, you're being legalistic. Like, you need to back off and understand, like, it's not all about how much time you spend. It's not all about the critiques and everything. Like, you need to it's just you need to spend time with him. That's as simple as it is. And at first I was like, legalistic's a big word. Like, that's, I feel like it was kind of harsh. But then as I was talking to the Lord, I kind of realized, oh, I am being legalistic. I am judging a lot more than I should should just take the moment and receive it. But I think, difficult conversations, I think it's definitely important to have because that's something that wakes you up and helps you, focus on the things you need to fix.
Yeah, it's also important, like, to obviously listen to that conviction, but, just try not to go against it. Because like you were saying, you're kind of hesitant. I was like, is this really legalism?
Delayed obedience is still disobedience.
Exactly, that too.
Yep.
But, so, like, how does self-control, like, affect our relationships? Like, with God and also, like, with our friends and family? How does that, like, affect y'all? But also, like, how does that affect people who don't know God, who don't know Christ?
Well, I think for me, I've seen it, like, it plays, like, if you lack self-control and then you have friends around you that are unbelievers, they're going to see that. And they're like, oh, man, I mean, I'm just going to be fully transparent with people. There's been times where I've been around friends that are unbelievers and I've said dirty jokes. And they were like, a Christian would not say that. A Christian, he's like, you're really not acting like a Christian right now. And that hit me like a rock. I'm like... Yeah, and I'm like, and it kind of like, it hit me in that moment, and it kind of hurt and stung, but it woke me up and it helped me realize like I have to have that self-control. And it's just like, from family members, like if you want to lead people towards the right direction to be a good example, whether that's for your siblings or for family members or friends, you got to understand, man, it all points back to self-control. And when you don't, it doesn't just affect unbelievers, but it affects the people that you live with because they say, oh, my brother's living like this, so I can do the same. So it's like it affects a lot more people than you think it would.
Yeah,
that's good.
I was gonna say, like, for me, I like what you're saying about the unbelievers. It's just like we hear it all the time. You might be the only light of Jesus that somebody sees, and if you're portraying that badly, that's gonna have a negative impact on just Christianity as a whole. Because the more the more you don't have self-control, the more you lash out in anger, like, over and over and over, and somebody sees that and knows that you're a Christian and they aren't yet, they're going to see that and they're going to want to run the other direction. And I think it's important because also for our, like, relationship with God is that, like I said earlier, is that not having self-control allows the door for, like, a lot of sin to come into your life.
Yes. And
sin separates us from God, but thankfully we've been washed clean by Jesus. But it's just, it honestly hurts your relationship with God, like, if you don't have a lot of self-control. So
right. And it's like, I really liked what you said about, like, the family members and the friends type stuff. Like, the more you lack in self-control, not only are you hurting those people in a spiritual sense, but you're also hurting them in, like, an emotional sense. But it's just, if you think about, let's say God is here and Satan is here and you're standing in the middle. If every time you lack self-control, you're inching more this way. And every time you have it, you're inching more this way. Which obviously it doesn't completely work that way. But it's just like, for the purpose of thinking about, are you lacking self-control more than you're having it? It's just like, are people able to look at you in whether or not you have self-control or any of the fruits of the Spirit? Are they able to say, yes, I believe this person clearly has something in their life that I need in mine because of the way they're behaving? Or people looking and being like, I don't know if I trust them with anything, or I don't know if I'd ask for them for advice. If people don't feel like they can ask you for advice, you need to change something about the way you're living.
For real.
Because clearly you don't have any fruits in your life that they desire to have in their own.
When we fail and lose self-control, how should we respond biblically? And also, like, what encouragement would you give to somebody who is just lacking that self-control and they keep falling into the same thing over and over again?
Well, first off, I want to make a plain statement. We all still struggle. We're not making this podcast because we're above or better than anybody.
Yeah.
And we all still fall. But I think one of the difference, and our pastor Chris, he told us this on the trip. There's one difference between a saint and a sinner. A sinner, they fail, but they stay down, and a saint falls too, but they get back up.
Right.
And that's the only difference. And I think one of the verses that really spoke out to me was Psalms 51:10, and it says, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." So I think when we fall short, the best thing that we can do is go to the Lord and say, "Lord, I have this problem. I have this thing in my life. You're the only person that can completely renew and change the way I do things." So it's like seeking the Lord. And I think also understanding that biblically, a lot of the ways we could seek the Lord is being transparent from others and getting help from others, because our walk is not, we're not supposed to do it by ourselves. We're called to do it with others also.
Exactly. I like that. We are called to walk together. Kind of like this podcast. Anyways, but for me, I like the verse of Proverbs 24:16, where it talks about, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, but the wicked stumble when calamity strikes."
He took my verse.
No. But anyways, I like this a lot more, or not a lot more, but I like I like this because it kind of it displays like we were saying, is like whenever you lash out and whenever you lack that self-control and if you just crash out and instances spontaneously, you're able to get back up again, because through God we are redeemed, and we're able to, since we're righteous, we can fall and get back up, and get back up. Obviously that's not an excuse.
Yeah. Well, we could look at Peter. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And then, after that, he repented. He got back right with the Lord, and the Lord made him the leader of the church. And
Exactly.
I'm like, so it's like we can have redemption. That's the whole part about being a Christian, is we get redemption through Jesus.
Exactly.
I feel like on a deeper level too is whenever we mess up, it's so easy to want to hide in our shame, and the devil seizes the opportunity too to be like, "Hey, you screwed up. Maybe." I don't know if I should tell my friend about Jesus because I just did this. And I mean, who am I to tell him anything?
I rebuke that.
Amen.
I rebuke in the name of Jesus, yes.
And it's so easy to be like, I don't know if I can face God right now because he's obviously going to be mad at me. And I think one of the clearest messages in the Bible is that you can't mess up so bad that God doesn't love you anymore. And yet it's so easy to feel that way. Exactly. It's so easy to be like, well, what if I was the first to do it, What if I was the first to mess up so bad that God didn't love me anymore? But it's just, you have to, that's why it's so important to have a spiritual father or spiritual friends, because obviously take it to God, but the step of saying, I'm not going to let the devil use this testimony as chains against me. I'm going to tell somebody else about it just to show that it doesn't have power over me anymore.
Right.
And it's just powerful to be able to say, hey, I'm messing up with this, or don't run away from the cross, run to it,
Like you said, for me, I found this a lot. I mean, I've talked to you about a lot of things, but it's just transparency. If you as a Christian can get down transparency, it's going to change your walk a lot. And also, I just want to be real with y'all. When Jesus died on the cross, I guarantee you, he knows every time that we're going to sin in our life. Yeah. Yet he still chose to get on that cross. Exactly. So God knows when we're going to fall before we fall. So there's no way that we can disappoint him, because he already knows it's going to happen. You can't disappoint somebody that already knows what's going to happen. So it's like, you're not going to make your father mad, or you're not going to make him, so mad that he turns away from you. So I just want to encourage y'all, y'all can, keep turning to him every time you mess up or fall short.
That's good.
In you. Yes, I'm talking to you. Whenever you sin, do not allow that to become your excuse to fall into more sin. Because it's easy to look at our walk with God as days at a time. And then it's like, I've messed up today, so it doesn't matter if I do this today. It doesn't matter if I do that today. It's like whenever you're on a diet, you're like, I already ate one bad thing today. I might as well eat a bunch of bad stuff. Yeah. That's not how it works, The forgiveness doesn't start the next day. The forgiveness starts the second you ask for it. So don't allow your mistake to dictate your entire day or however long that might be.
That's good. Well, I thank y'all for your time today.
Oh, yeah.
It's very